So this is my little Canon Vixia. It's a camera I take most of my videos with, and if I had it with me, I'd probably shoot a lot more video. So the two bags I have for it are my main camera bag and then this Canon bag here that fits for it. But it's pretty good size, and if you carry it around, it looks like you've got some sort of European man bag. Not judging, but not something I want to carry around. I thought it would be cool if I could make a pouch to put this guy in. So I'm guessing if I take the dimensions off this bag, I should get a pretty good fit for the side to side, and then figure out how I want to set it in. I think I want it to be a belt mounted pouch, and this slides in from the top. So I've got some black denim that I use for making patches for motorcycle vests. I've got some interfacing that should stiffen this up real nice, and I got a fat quarter Miss Nancy found someplace that I'm going to use for the interior. Why am I using orange, you ask? Because bags like this that are black, most of your camera gear is black. It's hard to find stuff in there sometimes, so I think I should have no problem getting it to show up against that. So everybody's got a spiral notebook that they write down their projects in. I keep mine, lets me go back and take a look at projects I've done. This design for this project's pretty simple. I figure this is the cubic area. It's going to be about 6 by 3.5 square. So we're going to have a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and because I'm using a fat quarter, which is this, these aren't necessarily the size and shape you want them, so I'm going to make my pieces smaller. This and the C, D, and B should all be one piece in the real world, but I don't know if the fat quarter will let me do that, so I'm just planning on making it into several different pieces. And this is right here is my cutting list. So all I gotta do is cut it out and interface it, and start sewing it together. So I got all the parts cut out for the bag. I've got basically an interior bag I'm going to make and an outside bag that I'm going to make, and then we'll put them together pretty much like I did in the grocery bags. But I think I'm going to use some of this interfacing. I got this stuff. This stuff is heavy, man. This stuff's like cardboard. And I used it on the wallets I made in the last video. Worked pretty good, so I'm going to put it on the black to try and help hold the bag structure. And we'll use the orange inside to protect the camera and allow me to see if there's anything that gets dropped in there that's dark, because it'll disappear against that black fabric. Okay, so now I've got all the parts put together. You can see that I've interfaced the back. It's going to give these a little bit more rigidity, give the bag a little more form. One of the things I have to do is this is going to be my loop that's going to go onto my belt, so I need to get this cut, melted, and sewn onto the back before we sew everything up. Then the plan is going to be to take all of these fellas and put the right sides together and sew it up into a box. There's a piece for the bottom, a piece for the sides, a piece for the front, and a piece for the back to go over. And this will be our lid. When you're sewing this together on the bottom, if you don't want to fight with the other side, you have to stop right at the seams. Otherwise, you get to wrestle with them, and that sucks. I hate doing that. Well, like the old axiom, anytime you're sewing fabric together, you want to put the right sides together generally. So in this instance, because we have two different pieces, we've got the shell and we've got the liner. Okay, so I'm going to turn my bag inside out, so the pretty side of it's out on the outside and the crappy side's on the inside. So basically my bag looks like I have stitches on the inside. On my shell there's stitches on the outside. The reason for that is we're going to sew it most of the way up and turn it, flip it right side out so that we can get this in the inside. And the way we're going to do that is stitch around the top here. Except we're going to leave this flap open. We're going to come around the corners just barely, and I'm going to leave most of that flap open, probably about a 3-inch wide gap, so I can just suck its guts out, flip it around outside, press it down, top stitch around the outside of it, and it should be done, good to go, and I can put my camera in it. So we put the like faces between the liner and the shell. Now all we have to do is just stitch around the top side, keep that 1/2-inch seam allowance, and don't sew the flap because we're going to leave this most of the way open to pull the whole bag through. We're going to pull it out through its nose hole. Okay, so the next part I got to do is I'm going to put a buttonhole on this flap so I can put a hair tie through it, and then I'm going to sew a button on down here and the hair tie will just hook onto that. I'm just going to keep it closed. It's a pretty low-tech system. It's just basically an extra pocket for me to carry my camera around in, so I have my hands free and it's not going to fall out. You know, I'm not getting any sewing done with you climbing up here on me like this. So I got a hair tie out of Miss Nancy's toiletries, and my plan is to stick it through this buttonhole I made, if such a thing can be done by a mere mortal such as myself, and there, we made a little elastic loop for our lid. Now I'll put the camera in there, figure out where I want this to come down to fit reasonably secure. I've got this fine looking button that I dug out of the cookie tin. I think it'll look really nice on this project. Yeah, good or bad, there's really only one way to sew on a button like this, and it's the old-fashioned way. It's my embroidery basket. I used to do a lot of embroidery. It'd be really hard for me to try and test out the closing mechanism with the camera since it's on the tripod right there filming this, but we'll try it with a beverage and see how that works. I believe it's going to be just fine. There we go. That's my camera pouch. It's really, really filthy because a certain cat who took off with a button was up here and she got up and was playing with it. So I'm going to have to run the cat lint brush over it before I can use it. But yeah, there you go. It's a perfectly serviceable little bag. If you have a small camera, I think you could do a lot worse than this. You could put a small pistol in it. You can put whatever you want in it. It's actually kind of a cool bag. I might make another one with better edges on the sides, maybe make it where it's square and it fits just over the top of that and fastens down. Then again, maybe not. I'm going to go drink this beverage. Peace.
Subscribe now to be notified as new videos